Hello and welcome to Link Ahead, the City of Dublin podcast, and a big episode today with our first ever guest host, our producer, Scott Light, the magician, the doctor himself, a Dublin resident and podcast extraordinaire. Scott Light is joining me behind the mic today. Scott, thanks for being here.
I feel bad, Lindsay, because this is one episode where Bruce Lindsay so wanted to be.
I know.
He's heartbroken.
He is.
Seriously.
He's truly heartbroken. We're going to have to bring our guest back for another episode.
No
problem.
And that's a hint because Bruce so loves sports.
He does.
He really gets into this. So to our listeners, that is a hint about our guest. Here's another hint. This is someone you've seen around town. You've also seen him getting his sweat on at the Dublin Community Recreation Center.
That really narrows it down.
It does.
And that's one of the beauties of our great city. You never know who's strolling through Bridge Park or on the treadmill right beside you. So, Scott, you were instrumental in getting this guest for us today. You do the honors.
All right, today's guest is the reigning Big Ten Women's Basketball Coach of the Year, was on the late season watch list for Naismith Coach of the Year. He led the Buckeyes to a 26-6 record while clinching the program's league-leading 16th regular season championship. And wouldn't you guess it? He's a Dublin resident. Head coach Kevin McGuff. Welcome to Link Ahead.
Yeah, great to be here. I appreciate you guys having me on this afternoon.
Let's begin here, Coach. Recruiting. You are heavily recruiting right now. We kind of had to wrangle your schedule a little bit between recruiting trips. That is the lifeblood of college sports. You're in that hot cauldron of it right now. Give us an idea of your travel schedule and what is it like trying to recruit this next great class of Buckeyes?
Well, one, you nailed it. I mean, this is the lifeblood of our program. As we say in coaching, there are coaches with great players and there are ex-coaches. And so that just to state the importance of recruiting. But nowadays, it just seems like they keep adding different events in the summer for us to go to. And so just in June and July, I've been to Bucaramanga, Colombia.
Wow.
I've been to Chicago, Louisville twice, Hamilton, Ohio twice, Leon, Mexico. And so I've literally been all over the world. I'm going to Rock Hill, South Carolina this coming weekend. Then the week after that, I'm going to Porto, Portugal to watch the European U18 European Championships. And then that'll kind of end the summer from a recruiting perspective.
Wow, that's amazing. And what are you looking for on these recruiting trips?
Well, first of all, we usually have an idea of who we're looking at before we go.
Sure.
And so I have a staff and we spend a lot of time on the organization of this. We also get an assist. There are things, what we call scouting services, where people kind of a cottage industry where they go out and watch tournaments year round and kind of file reports and send them to us, and then we'll follow up by going to watch. So then when you figure out who you're trying to go see, what I'm looking for is, we have a very specific style of play at Ohio State. We're one of the fastest teams in the country. And so people, not everyone can play that style. So We're looking for people that fit our style. We may be looking for specific needs. For example, we're going to lose a point guard, so we need to replace that. And then probably most importantly, we're looking at the intangibles. Is that young woman coachable? Is she a great teammate? Is she communicating with her teammates? How is she interacting with her parents after the game? How is she interacting with the referees? All those things kind of speak to competitive character, which is really an important thing to me.
Well, and the other commitment that maybe casual fans don't think about now is the commitment that every coaching staff makes to social media and building relationships with these high school athletes. We've all heard big-time recruits say something like, I've committed to so-and-so school because they just stayed in constant contact with me all the time. How do you and your staff tackle that huge part of the job?
Yeah, no, it's the huge part because they want to feel connected to you as a coach, and specifically me as the head coach. They want to feel like the head coach knows them, understands them, who they are, what their goals and aspirations are. So I have to, certainly involve myself. And then, there's the parental aspect, which I've gone through, and I'm sure we'll get into that later. But, parents want to know where they're sending their child and who she's going to spend her time with. I think the biggest thing, though, is to be able to create a vision for each recruit in how we are going to help her be reach her potential in our program and what role she's going to have and how that's going to most likely play out.
Coach, has the portal accelerated recruiting cycles even more to where you're looking at it like, well, yes, our star point guard is a sophomore now, but we may lose her either to the WNBA or to the portal, that you can't plan on having an athlete where back in the day you thought you could have a young lady for 3 or 4 years. Now do you plan on 1 to 2?
Yeah, it's really made it difficult. And as much as a lot of things go into being a head coach, I'd say nowadays you could almost look at my job as half head coach, half general manager, because roster management is a completely different animal now than it was even 5 years ago with the portal and NIL and all that type of stuff. So, you certainly hope that you have a program that people want to stay in, and that we're doing things the right way. But realistically, you're going to have some years where you lose some people unexpectedly. Now, the good news is you can make up for it by going into the portal and getting people.
Right.
But it's kind of a vicious cycle to always be in that portal at the end of every season, just trying to replace your roster.
Let's talk about this past season. Although you didn't go as far in the NCAA tournament as you had hoped, boy, there were some magical moments. A couple of things here. You tied your highest ranking in program history at number 2. The past 2 seasons, actually. You put together your second longest winning streak in conference play. You went undefeated in January and February. Boom.
Incredible.
Exactly. First outright conference title since the 09-2010 season. You had 4 players this past season on the All Big Ten first or second team. What made this group of players special?
Well, we had exceptional leadership, predominantly Dublin's own Jacy Sheldon.
Yeah.
And so, she just really grew into a great leader. She was always an incredible worker, a great player, a great teammate, but she and I really worked closely the last couple of years in terms of to have a really positive, strong voice in the locker room. And so I think our leadership and just our overall team chemistry was really good. I mean, this was not this past year. I wouldn't say this was not the most talented team we've had. Probably not even one of the first or second. But it was it was the best led team and the best chemistry that we've had, and I think that ultimately was the key to our success.
Well, speaking of special, women's basketball is really having a moment right now. College players and teams are selling out arenas. The WNBA is surging. How do you view this time for the sport?
It's an incredible time to be a part of it, and we've all been kind of waiting for this kind of watershed moment for us to make these leaps and bounds, because I think we've got a beautiful game. The sport is great. We've got so many young people involved at young ages, and I think the coaching at younger ages is getting better, which is developing better players. And so by the time we get them, they're a little further along than they were in past years. And so it's a great game. And it's amazing the number of people that I have say to me, like, I didn't realize women's basketball was this fun. And so we just haven't haven't been able to get enough people to watch us and come to the games. And people all the time and say, hey, man, I came to the game. The environment was great. Your kids played great. It was fun to watch. And so, even though we are graduating from stars from college, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and Jacy Sheldons of the world, I still think there's enough star power, and the game is in such a good place that I think it'll continue to go in the right direction.
It's fun and so skilled. Mm-hmm. I mean, really. Yep. I mean, what you're seeing on the court now, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's a little more skill and team based than some of the men's basketball where it's like individual talent and athleticism, and so I think for women's basketball teams to be the best or be successful, they have to play as a team. There's just not as much athleticism or just that individual skill where they can just, for example, like in the NBA, in college basketball to some degree, they can just generate a shot at any point based on their athleticism. That means a good shot, or that it results in beautiful basketball like I think we have in women's basketball. Because the women, that you have to execute, you have to screen for each other, you have to pass the ball, you have to have a sense of an offense to generate quality shots in basketball. And so it's a little different, and I think it's the right way to play the game.
So to that point, you hear so much about metrics and looking at that, the high percentage shots. How much has that changed over the years for you, if at all?
Yeah, we certainly look at the analytics and evaluating our shots. And I don't necessarily hold people back. Like everybody hates the mid-range jumper nowadays. But we've got kids that it's a good shot for them. Yeah. And so as much as anything, I think it's important to educate them on like, hey, you take this shot versus a layup or a wide open three. This is kind of how it's going to play out points per possession, just so you have an idea. And then I don't get too crazy involved. And if they take it because they were wide open, no problem.
Speaking of a moment, we have the Olympics going on right now. Right. There are two of your college coaching peers coaching Team USA. We've got Kara Lawson from Duke and Joni Taylor from Texas A&M. Have you coached against them before, Coach?
Yeah, I've coached against Kara. I don't think I've gone head-to-head against Joni. I know Joni very well. One of my closest friends, so they have like the head coach, and then those two are assistants, and then the assistants have people helping them with their scouting, which one of my best friends is the head coach of the LA Sparks, Kurt Miller. He's there doing that. So I'm familiar with all them. They've got an excellent staff, and I think they're gonna put the team in position to be really successful. They've got a great group, a very talented group that I think will play well together. They've got great leadership and veteran players with like Diana Taurasi. So they got everything in place to win, and I think they will.
All right, thinking about that job, I'm curious, coaching in the Olympics, that the opportunity of a lifetime or kind of a nightmare for you?
Yeah, mixed bag. I mean, I think if you win, you'll look back that it was the opportunity of a lifetime, and if you don't, it'll be a complete nightmare because the expectation certainly in women's basketball is gold for sure. There's no other thing that people are going to accept, and USA basketball has just been so dominant in the Olympics, and I don't think this year's going to be any different.
All right, we'll bring it back from Paris back to Central Ohio. Let's talk about your career because, as they say, numbers don't lie. 453 wins all total, 688 winning percentage, 695 conference winning percentage, 15 20-plus win seasons, and 13 NCAA tournament appearances. You've been doing this now for 2 decades, Coach. What is the secret, besides the W's, what's the secret? That's probably the biggest.
Winning.
Yeah. What are the other secrets to coaching longevity in such a competitive industry?
Well, yeah, it's extremely competitive, and times that by 25 at Ohio State. So
yes.
I tell people all the time I'm going into my 12th year, which is like being some 25 years somewhere else. So, but I think when I first started coaching at my first head coaching job at Xavier, I felt like I was really good at a lot of things, recruiting and just general X's and O's and player development. But what I lacked when I first started was something that sort of tied the program together and gave us direction on a daily basis. It's kind of like, who are we? What's our identity? It was just we were kind of like good at a lot of things, and we recruited good players. But now I have a real clear definition of what I want our program to be about, and I think when you develop that, it gives you clear direction on a daily basis on what you're doing. It gives you clear direction on who you're hiring to help carry out that mission. And simply for us, as the father of 6 children and four daughters,
whoa,
I want our program to be the very best in college athletics, and I think in women's basketball, and I think we can do this because of the resources at Ohio State to help the young women that we recruit be the best version of herself that she can possibly be, the best student and the best basketball player. And if we're doing something on a daily basis to help, because that's what I would want for my own child, by the way. And I think most parents would want that. So I kind of gear everything towards that. And if we recruit the right people and then help each person reach her potential, what we're trying to do on the court is going to kind of take care of itself.
Well, we're going to come back and talk about your 4 daughters.
We are.
6 children.
6 kids total. I know.
A little bit later. But you mentioned identity. How about you? How do you describe your coaching philosophy?
Well, kind of what I just said is just like I want our program to be the very best in college athletics at helping people grow as young women, as students, and as basketball players. And if we do that, everything else we're doing is going to take care of itself. And so that's what I kind of think about on a daily basis. Are we doing that? Do we have a program set up to help the young women do that? Because really, at the end of the day, I hope we win championships. I hope we win a national championship and all that stuff. And all that stuff's important for longevity at Ohio State.
Sure.
If you don't win, you're not going to be here. But when it's all said and done, if we look back and we say, hey, we helped all these young women really reach their potential. We prepared them for life. They're going out. They're doing great things. They're great mothers or sisters or wives. That will make me feel really proud and like that we accomplished what I wanted to do with this program.
Who are your coaching mentors?
Well, I had the great fortune to coach at Notre Dame under Muffet McGraw,
Yep.
who was excellent. I had a wonderful experience. She was a great mentor, and I think probably the biggest thing I learned from her is that she was she's a great X&O technician and all these things, but a great manager of her program. Because really you see a lot of coaches that are really talented and they can X&O and they can recruit, but the whole thing's not organized, it's not connected, and then you get a program that doesn't reach its potential. And so she was a great mentor of mine. Thad Mata, who was the men's coach here, he and I coached together at Xavier. And so he had been doing it a little while before I got there. So he was a really good resource for me. Still is. We keep in close contact. And but back to Notre Dame, I just had a great experience there personally and professionally. I met my wife in coaching, so we coached together. We shared an office. She got a job about a week before I did, and so it's just a really wonderful experience, both personally and professionally.
Speaking of that stint at Notre Dame, you were on the staff that won a national championship, right? So
correct.
Did you get a ring?
Oh yeah. It's in my office. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you mentioned your wife, and she is the better basketball player. Is that she was a standout player at Notre Dame, and that's where you bet?
Yeah. So she was a great player at Notre Dame, and then when her playing career finished, she went and played professionally in Italy. So this is before the WNBA, and so she was playing in Italy, and unfortunately she got hurt. She tore ACL. So at that time, Muffet had 2 jobs open. So she hired her, and then she hired me about a week later, and we actually shared an office. That's how we met.
I'm betting it has to help having a spouse who knows the rigors of the game, the sport, and coaching for what you do.
Yeah, no doubt. She understands the commitment that this takes and is very supportive, and she's an excellent mother and wife. And so with all that I have to put in and the travel and the grind of it, she does a fantastic job when I can't be around. But she does. She understands the game. She's really great with our players when she has a chance to be around them. And she has a different way of, like, I'm very analytical. If I watch the game, the first thing I see is, boy, we didn't set the screen at the right time at the right place. And she sees, well, so-and-so didn't seem to be interacting with so-and-so in a positive way. Yeah. And so she's got a very different lens of which she can view the game and the emotions of the players, which is, very helpful, of course.
You guys are a two-headed monster
in
your household. No, you really are. Yeah, that is. Speaking of your household, 6 kids, 2 are playing in college right now, playing college ball.
Yep.
Tell us about your family.
Yeah, so like you said, we have 6 children, 4 girls, 2 boys, and our oldest started her collegiate basketball career at Belmont, and then she transferred this year to Butler. So she's going to be a Butler in Indianapolis, and she had 3 great years at Belmont and enjoyed it, and just wanted kind of one more challenge and opportunity to play somewhere. And then our next oldest, Kieran, who played her last year at Coffman, is just finished her freshman year at Bowling Green, and it was kind of tough because she didn't play a lot early, and then she started playing a lot, and then she really carved out a great role, and then she got hurt. So she's currently rehabbing her knee to get back to get back on the court. And then we'll have 2 of a boy and a girl at Coffman this year, and then we'll have 2 at Carr. Boy and a girl at Carr.
Are they all ball players?
They all do something. Yes, they all. And the younger ones kind of try a little bit of everything. And then like my son's in high school now. He only plays basketball, but they all kind of, when they were younger, they all did something different.
Is that tricky as 2? Mega monster basketball parents? Did you give your kids a basketball, or did you kind of let them choose their sports and activities as they were growing up?
We kind of let them choose their sports and activities, and we never really focused early on, especially on, hey, just focus on basketball or any one thing. And I don't know. I think that you see a lot of injuries in youth sports, and I think a lot of it, to me, is overuse. It's like they're doing one thing year round, and it's just overworking certain muscle groups and stuff. And I think that the science would back that up. So we wanted to do different things and try different things and just see what they really liked or loved. And by the time they get to high school, they usually start to narrow in on one sport.
You actually coached against your daughter last season when OSU played Belmont. So how did that go?
Yeah, it's one of those things I thought this is going to be great when I set it up. And then it was like the day out of my. It was a very strange experience because I'm trying to coach the game, but I'm watching her, and that's kind of distracting, quite frankly. And I wanted her to play great. I wanted to win the game, and she had a great year last year for them. And but. Yeah, it was a bit of a surreal experience, and I kind of enjoyed it, but I'm not so sure. I don't know. We'll see. It was also very different.
Yeah, a little awkward.
Did you draw up play? Are you drawing up plays to lock down your daughter?
Yeah, I was telling her she'd been playing really well heading in that game too, so I knew we'd have our hands full.
And that was around Christmas, right? So she was home for the holidays.
Yeah, so she was able to come on that trip and then stay. Yes.
Oh, well, earlier we mentioned that you are a Dublin resident. Tell us about your life in and around Dublin, and how long have you called Dublin home?
Yeah, we really like it. We originally lived in Upper Arlington when we moved here from Seattle, and kind of when I came from Seattle, we liked it there. But one of the things that was really difficult is the traffic and kind of where we lived. That if I went in the morning to work at University of Washington, if something was going on in the afternoon, I couldn't pop home real quick and come back to the office. And so when we moved here, I was kind of scarred by that. So I was like, we're going to live in the closest neighborhood we can, which was Upper Arlington. So we lived there, and it was good. We had no complaints or issues at all, except our second oldest daughter, we wanted her to play at Coffman because, Adam Banks was there, and they had the program really going in a great way. And so we rented a house, and we were just going to move in and probably go back at some point. But we liked it in Dublin, and my younger kids really liked the schools. And they were at Scottish Corners and Carr at that time. Now they're at Carr and Coffman. But it was just really convenient with they could walk to Scottish Corners, and then the where they caught the bus for Carr was super close. And then the whole Bridge Park development in Old Dublin, it just, we really felt comfortable here, and our kids really liked it. So we decided to stay. We sold our house in Upper Arlington, and so I think we'll be in Dublin.
All right, we hooked them.
Yeah.
And what a shout out for Dublin City Schools, second to none. I mean, their academics and the athletic programming is so incredible.
I can't imagine, though, if you're a basketball coach at the middle school level or high school level, and then Coach McGuff walks in, then your spine has to straighten up. Yeah, for sure.
Wait, so how are you in the stands?
Yeah, I'm pretty quiet. My wife and I usually try to sit away, so we can talk amongst each other and share our
under their
feelings.
breath. They're
but,
sharing
we don't want to. We're not too vocal in the stands.
So, Lindsay, why don't we lift the curtain a little bit for our listeners, and maybe even for the coach too, about how this episode came together? And it started with Bruce playing basketball over at the rec center. He's over there, every Wednesday?
Absolutely. And when Jeremiah Gracia was on, he was talking about that they play together on Wednesdays, whenever they can. So they're over there. Bruce is at the rec center all the time. You're there. And I think you both mentioned to me, I think Coach McGuff is at our rec center.
Yes. We were like, all right, who's going to go up to the coach and invite him on the podcast? And honestly, Bruce and I were a little scared. I'm just going to say it.
You were a little scared,
we were a little
you did
timid.
It anyway.
I did. Coach, I know you remember, it was just a couple of weeks ago. I came up to you. I interrupted your workout. You were oh so kind on a Saturday morning, and I just said, would you come and join our podcast? And you were great. So let me ask you, we've been dying to ask you this. You've got access to all that high-tech equipment over at OSU, and you choose to work out, sweat it out, which we love, at the Dublin Rec Center. So what do you love about our rec center?
I like it in there. I like, interacting with people and just being around people. And sometimes it fits the schedule better. Like, for example, this morning, we didn't work out with the team until 11. And so I woke up, and instead of going in there and then, working out at school and then I take a shower there, I just went down to the rec center, worked out, came back, took a shower, it's done, and then went to work, and that was it. So, but now sometimes just the schedule doesn't line up. I can't get to the rec center, so I can work out at work, of course. But I like just getting up and getting down there, knocking it out, and then getting on with my day.
Yeah, it's convenient.
That's awesome.
And I have to ask,
That's
do a
awesome.
lot of people come up and talk to you while you're on the treadmill?
This year I had a lot of people. It was It's good though. Like I tell people all the time, it's better they recognize it means we're doing something good, because if you're not winning, no one's going to care and no one's going to recognize you. So I'll take that.
Well, Coach, we could talk to you all day, and we'll start to wrap it up here. We end every episode here on Link Ahead with rapid fire questions. So are you ready to dive in? Let's do this. Okay, if you didn't coach big time basketball and could pick any other job in the world, even from pure curiosity, what would it be?
I would be some type of entrepreneur. I like to kind of go at my own pace, but have my own schedule. I take risks, and I would like to build a company. If it was a small company, and be able to work for myself and have the flexibility to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And so some type of entrepreneurial adventures would be on.
Okay. What's easier, Coach, to correct? A team that maybe comes out a little flat, or a team that comes out too amped up?
I would prefer a team that comes out too amped up.
Yeah,
really?
I would like the energy, and I can harness the energy a lot easier than trying to, let's go, get going. Okay. Come on, we got to go. So as long as they're playing really hard, which is usually a byproduct of being a little too amped up, we can survive everything else.
Okay.
If you could have any coach, past or present, by your side for one game from any sport, who would it be?
Probably Bob Knight.
That would be fun.
I think that, if he could be by my side and not kind of be rambunctious.
You know what he's going to be.
Because I grew up, when I was growing up in my formative years, Bob Knight was at the pinnacle of his success at Indiana. And, growing up in the Midwest, I feel like he was committed to really teaching players how to play the game the right way. Teaching them how to play in general. And he was a great teacher and a great competitor. And to me, always seemed to get the absolute most out of his teams. And I think that's really at the essence of coaching.
Question on that front. Are you superstitious? Do you have pregame rituals? Do you wear, same socks, same shirts, shoes from game to game?
I'm not real superstitious in that regard. So I don't have any set in stone rituals that I adhere to pregame or anything like that.
Okay.
All right. During the season, the average amount of sleep you get per night is?
It varies, but ironically, you would be surprised that I tell people this all the time, is that nowadays in college athletics with the recruiting schedule and that, I think I'm busier in the off season.
Right.
But there's a lot more stress during the season.
Sure.
So that's the offset, because it's like at Ohio State, it's like I get a request to do something like almost every day. In the season, you don't get any of those requests.
Right.
It's the season.
You're
period.
locked in.
You're locked in. Everybody kind of leaves you alone to do that. It's a hard job, and it's a really long season, and it grinds on you. But I'm busier in the off season, really. But there's just a lot more pressure during the season.
Okay. Speaking of during the season, all right, itching for some coaching perspective here. It's 10 seconds to go. You're down one. You've got the ball, and there's a timeout. So do you draw up a new play depending on what you've seen from who you're playing during that game? Or do you have those 2 or 3 go-to set plays that you're going to call in that scenario?
Well, we work on end-of-game situations in practice. And so let's say we needed 2, we needed 3, or we needed something off the dribble. We will have probably worked on that. So whatever it is, it won't be the first time that they've seen me draw it up and they've gone through it. That's one of the things that's going to be a big adjustment for us this year, because having had Jacy Sheldon for the last 5 years, I knew at the end of the game I was going to get the ball in her hands one way or another. And whether she made the shot or not, or got somebody a shot, we were going to give ourselves a chance with the ball in her hands.
Right. Okay, granted, you have kids in college now, but when they were all under your roof, how many hotel rooms were needed when you would go on vacation?
Yeah, at least 2, and a lot of double beds. And
who snores? Because I know when I would travel with my family, I'm like, I'm not sharing a room with that person.
Well, it's like my son, who's in high school now, he kicks in the night, so I refuse to share a bed with him.
When can you go on vacation in terms of what point in the calendar?
Yeah, that's actually really difficult, because the problem we have now as a family is that my college-age children, because they play basketball, they go to summer school, and that goes into August, and then all of a sudden Dublin City Schools are starting, so we have a real short window in August.
When you do get time out for a night out, do you and Letitia have a favorite spot here in Dublin?
I like Tucci's. I think that's a great spot.
Solid. Solid.
Really, really good.
Have you been there since the renovation?
I have. It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Okay, one bonus question, and I can't believe you didn't write this, Scott.
What?
But do you play pickleball?
Funny you asked that. I have not played pickleball, but I want to play.
All right.
and I
Scott
wanna learn
could
how
give
to
you
play.
some lessons, I think.
I'm
Yes.
hearing such great things about it, but I just have not had a chance to do it yet.
How about anything else? Do you and your wife play tennis or do anything else competitive or when you have time?
No, not really. I mean, we both try to work out. I usually listen to podcasts when I work out. It's kind of my hobby would be working out. And
Well, I
listening
hope
to
you listen
podcasts.
to this one.
Yeah, I will.
Is she at the rec center too, Coach?
Some, yeah.
Okay.
She's there some. Yeah,
Okay.
she is. Yeah, she likes to ride her bike just outside and on the trails and all that, probably a little bit more than I do, but she will go to the rec center for sure.
That's awesome. That's just great. Coach McGuff, thank you so much. And again, we know this is your extra busy season. You've got to get back on the recruiting trail. So thanks for stopping by City Hall, and thanks for joining Link Ahead.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks to you, Scott, for jumping behind the mic
This has been fun.
and filling in for Bruce today.
This has been great. Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you as well for taking the time to connect with your city. Tune in next time as we continue to explore the many personalities and experiences that make Dublin a thriving place to live, work, and grow.